I know obviously playing BYU is an interesting one for you. I think last year you were really excited to play them and actually had a pretty nice game. Do you remember specifics about that game?
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of been a rivalry between us the last few years anyway, and so the team gets really energized. And I don't know, for me, it's just exciting to, I got a lot of friends that go to the school. I know a lot of people there, so it's kind of a chance to showcase and kind of, make a lot of friends mad. It's good.
Was it? Do you remember last year? It seems like you came out hitting pretty hard in that game.
Yeah, I did, and it just lined up for me. It really did. Kind of the work that week paid off. You know how you like visualize and you're like, oh, I hope this happens. And it all lined up. It was just one of those weeks when it was kind of the dream. It was good. Eager
for that to happen again, especially considering that you guys had some special teams errors against Washington.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to you're in fall camp for months and you practice against yourself every day and you kind of get used to those looks, and yeah, in the game you finally get to gauge yourself. I like what Harsin had to say. You get to gauge yourself finally against another team, so where you're at. And yeah, there were some mistakes made and some mental errors, but I mean that's what practice is for. I feel like we've cleaned that up really well this week, and I'm not worried about it at all going into BYU.
How good does it feel? Harsin also mentioned the word grit and showing that this early in the season and quite frankly just winning a ball game when a close game against a Pac-12 team.
Absolutely. It definitely wasn't fancy. I don't think it needed to be. There was a time there I think where our defense could have broke. We could have given away a little bit, but we didn't. And even the offense, they slowed down a little bit in the second half, but you can definitely see the effort was there, and I think that is the best word, is grit. I mean, we just kind of held on and slugged it out to the very end. Felt good.
You notice a big difference from maybe last year's game against Ole Miss? I mean, that was the one that Marcel pointed to in particular about how the mindset is just different. Like, you guys kind of believe that, you don't need to put 30 points on the board to win a game, that the defense can carry it.
Absolutely, and it was kind of the same scenario. We drag it all the way into the fourth quarter. Their offense hasn't scored a lot. We haven't scored a lot, and yeah, that mentality. Against Ole Miss, it was different a little bit. We got worn out, started feeling sorry for ourselves a little bit. We're like, why isn't this going our way? And once that hit the unit, I mean, it was over. But this year it was completely different, and I really appreciate that. I feel like there's a lot of experience, there's a lot more time on this defense, a lot of veterans, and I think we all hung together.
It seemed like there was a lot of improvement last year from game 1 to game 2 with Colorado State with game 2. What can you draw from that for this year?
I think really though, the biggest thing is just not letting up. We cannot be complacent. And I think that's what a lot of teams feel. A lot of people get that high, especially after winning game 1. I've never won game 1 since I've been here. Mm-hmm. And so that might be kind of a challenge for us. I know we thought that the coaches have done really well to try and stop that. And I haven't seen that this week. I think we're working harder than we've been ever. And I think I'm really excited for week 2. I don't see us letting up at all.
Going on the road, last year toward the end, you guys were playing a lot better away from home. What was kind of what you did well last year that you could maybe transfer over to this year?
Yeah, I know we kind of had that slump midway, and then once we kind of hit, was it October, November, things really started to pick up. I think we just got into our groove. It's hard, again, like I said, you do that routine, you go through fall camp, it's 16-hour days, and then all of a sudden you hit this certain regimen of the season. I think the sooner we get into that regimen, the sooner we get into that flow, and we just get that, what's the word I'm looking for, chemistry, I guess. Things will get a lot smoother, a lot quicker.
There's a lot of talk about their quarterback just coming back from his mission like 3 months ago. And
he went to Panama, right?
I think
it was Panama.
I think Chile.
Oh, Chile?
Yeah.
Down there
What's it like? I mean, he was saying maybe once every couple months he got to throw the ball around, but you really didn't get to lift any weights or anything for a couple years. What kind of challenge is that coming back after that break?
It was tough when I got back. I was out of shape. I mean, I was fat, I'll admit it. And it took me a good month or two of really hard work and getting beat up a little bit to get me back. Mentally, I think for myself personally, I had a bigger mental battle than a physical battle. I had to get my confidence back a little bit. I felt like I wasn't where I needed to be. I was trying to find my role, kind of my niche on the team. Once I got over that hump though, really though, anything's possible. You can kind of go anywhere with it. And I think that's where he's at right now. He's figuring it out. It's going really well for him.
Yeah, pretty impressive, I guess, in that short time for him to come back and already be where he's at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I watched the game and he did well, and hopefully we'll see how he stacks up against us this week.
You said you know a lot of kids down there or whatnot. What's kind of the vibe on campus after a win like that, sending in a true freshman quarterback?
Oh, it's exciting. Absolutely, I'm sure it's exciting for him. We'd be just as excited if we pulled off a game in that fashion, but like you said, week 1 to week 2, you can't get complacent. So I think that's the biggest challenge. So we'll see how they handle it.
I know you guys have played on grass before or whatever, but it seems like there's been a little bit more of an emphasis. I think Harsin said you guys didn't practice on grass at all before UConn last year, and now you guys have been out there all week. Does that help a little bit? Just get a little feel.
It does actually. You don't realize it until you get back on grass. You forget you play on turf so much. There is kind of a difference. If your feet aren't under you, I mean, there's a lot bigger chance of you slipping. So there is definitely a difference.
Are you on the punt team?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. And I'm sure that's been an emphasis in the meetings this week, though, with the special teams and when they give it the punt return for the touchdown and stuff. Just with Coach Riddle, we didn't get a chance to talk to him this week. What's kind of been the emphasis to kind of get some of the special teams cleaned up?
And I'll be honest, there's no real big changes. There's no real big different of emphasis. It's just people solidifying what they already know. There's a difference between knowing it and then going out and doing it. And that's simply what happened. There was just a disconnect between what people knew and what people acted on. I won't say there's a big difference in what's being changed, being coached. It's just people going out and performing what they already know.
You talk about going from week 1 to week 2. The roles are a little bit reversed. Last week was a big home game for you guys, and now it's going to be a big home game for those guys. What's the mentality different like this week as opposed to last week?
We've got to go in there. It's got to be a business trip. That's what Harsin says. There's these little taglines he kind of puts with each unit. With offense, it's strike force. We got to just be focused. They got to go out there. They got to get it done. And for defense, it's watch me now, especially with negative situations. I think that came up this week with Washington. There's a lot of times when the defense was kind of put in some scary scenarios, and we say, watch me now. The defense has to go out and perform. This is their time to shine. And I think now more than ever, we need to have those mentalities going into such a big home game like this for them.
Were you on the team 2 years ago down there?
Yes, I was.
Yeah. I remember most about that.
Nice field. It was better than UConn's field. I like that. But we were slipping a lot. But at the end of the day, we just needed to execute better. Our mentality was low. We kind of were a little shaky to begin with. I don't feel any of that this year. It's completely different. We're a lot more unified as a team. I think we have a lot more experience. A lot of guys on the team were there at BYU. They felt the atmosphere. They kind of know what's coming, and so we can expect it.